Swamiji also evolved his teachings over time. So what is exactly in step by step is not exactly what later on he taught also. And then, of course, Amma's own codification of the system did bring in some modifications. Because, I have mentioned this earlier that when Swamiji would teach the Hatha Yoga, so till the early 1980s, Swamiji was also teaching the morning Hatha Yoga class in the Kamliswami Madam. And that Amma would be there, but then he had the accident on the back. He fell against the side of the swimming pool and broke his vertebrae. Was in a bed cast for 6 months, and lot of surgeries and lot of therapies had to be done. So then Amma had to take over the running of the morning Hatha Yoga. And then as he recovered, he started the pranayama and the mantra sessions and all. But after that, she took over the Hatha Yoga from the early 80s. I would say around, when I say early, it must have been 83, I think he had it. It must have been 82, 83, he had his back accident time. I had not yet gone to school. So it was definitely before 85 for sure. It may have been 83, and he had recovered enough by the time I went to school because he traveled with us to Kodaikanal. And if he had been in a bed cast, he would not have done that. And so, what Swamiji would do in Hatha Yoga is he would come into the class, and you never knew whether you would be standing on your head the whole class or doing standing asanas that day, or it would be all thrown asanas or supine asanas. And yeah, depending on what he felt was right for the students that day, he would teach it. And then Amma, when she started teaching, she said, I cannot do that way. I'm not Swamiji. I don't have that creativity. I don't have that intuitive understanding. So she started to streamline them into the system that we follow in our Hatha Yoga now, where you have the standing postures, the Samasthiti group, you have the Hatena group, you have the Loma Viloma group, you have the digestive group, the pelvic looseners. And in fact, we are looking at starting a course where we go through this soon. Deepika and I have been having a conversation on looking at that also. What we are trying to see here is that Amma put it in a sequence so that it could be then replicated by people easily as they started teaching. Because the way Swamiji taught it, when people went out of the ashram, they didn't know how to teach. So it was a teacher's training course, but nobody knew how to teach at the end of it. They had got a lot of sadhana, they have got a lot of experience, but how do you go out and teach? Which is where then Amma put it into a system that you could teach and you could do it. So the way the Hatha Yoga is done in the 6 month course and the way the asanas are placed in yoga step by step are totally different. Though they are the same, but they are not in that same sequence. So I just want us to realize that there's been this evolution, and as long as the teachings are evolving, and then of course the way I perceive them and share them has its own evolutionary addition to it. I'm always mindful that I don't want it to degenerate for sure, and I don't want it to mutate for sure. So my responsibility as sort of the person who has to stand at the front of the ship for now, whether I am doing what I'm doing, I don't know, but at least I have to stand at the front of the ship, like maybe, the Titanic, they were standing at the front of the ship, but the ship goes on its own. But anyway, I'm just standing there thinking I'm leading the way. I don't know what I'm doing, and sometimes I question myself. But it is my responsibility that I do not deviate to such an extent that it becomes a distortion or a mutation. So I'm very, very cognizant that what I should do should be an embellishment. It should be an evolutionary growth to keep up with contemporary needs and concepts, but shouldn't become a mutation, a distortion, or a degeneration. So please keep that in your sharing of these techniques also in the name of creativity, in the name of freedom of expression. Let us not move away from that. That fidelity to the tradition is important. I remember my dance master once when he came and watched one of our performances, got a bit mad at us because Amma had taken one of his compositions and with a lot of creative license, brought it into a dramatic form and all, because Amma used to move from the individual centric dance performance to a group centric. Because that is why at Yoganjali we never built up individual performers. They were usually the group team performers. And only when they did their Arangetram or debut, we'd work with them individually. Whereas most of the time people only work with the individual. So she had done that. And I remember Lakshman sir at the end of the performance is like, how dare you, corrupt my composition like that? That's totally wrong, Meenakshi. And Amma said, yes, I accept, sir, but this is why I did. He said, that is fine. But he said, create your own composition. Don't take my composition and mutate it that way. And he said it in a nice way. And this is something we have to understand that, don't think, because today the nonsense that is being peddled in the field of yoga, the amount of nonsense being peddled in the name of the chakras, language is beautiful, images are beautiful, but it's all made up, fantasy, not fantastic, but okay, fantasy. And as Madan Mohan sir used to refer to us when we gave these huge speeches and we didn't actually touch the topic, at the end of our speech, he would say, what you gave in today's session was beautiful nonsense. He used a phrase, beautiful nonsense. He said, you did it all beautifully linguistically, but it is nonsense. There was nothing there. Such beautiful nonsense is there today in the field of yoga. What is happening today is, in the name of this creative license, people think they can do anything. So somebody can stand on the head. So all the asanas for the chakras are headstanding asanas, because they can do it. So headstanding with my right leg to the side is for Mooladhara, left leg to the side is for Swadhisthana, both legs together in Manduka is for Manipura, twist it into Garuda, it becomes, Anahata, and then, do a back bending where my toe comes to my head, it becomes Vishuddha, and then, lift up into a handstand from there, it becomes Sahasrara. Just because I can do it, I put it into all the chakras. I've seen this type of nonsense. There is no common sense at all in what is being done. And that is what we don't want to have happen with these teachings. Which is why, go back to the source, go back to yoga step by step, go back to these lessons, go back to what Swamiji says in his books. It's so important. Now, yes, as I said, there can be modifications. I do explain things in a contemporary way. I try to use Swamiji's teachings as the launching pad to then embellish them. But I am very, very cognizant that I must not mutate them, distort them, corrupt them, or let them degenerate.